Thank you for joining us, everyone, for another episode of Live by Heart
Today
with your hosts, Dawn Spiegelberg and Wendy R. Wolf.
Hello and welcome to the Live by Heart Today show number 8. This is a show designed to help you navigate change, uncertainty, and the new world we found ourselves in. We'll talk a little bit about science. I love science. We're going to talk a lot about science. We'll talk a little bit about how our body works. I love that too. A little bit about intuition, and we'll talk a lot about transformation. Our theme for today is neutral living. With me for today's Heart to Heart is my co-host, Wendy R. Wolf, a professional transformation facilitator. Love you, Wendy.
Hi, Dawn. Thanks. I had so much fun with our last session, the nature of neutrality. I'm really excited today to talk about neutral living.
So living in a state of neutral, we talked about it before. We talked about the right? What it kind of looks like being on the bank. I love that. We talked about how it's a much more observational place. So, think of going up to the top of the Space Needle and, you get to see out all over Seattle and you're not driving your car, right? And you're not down on the street getting bumped and rocked and asking for directions, right? You can see exactly what to do, where to go. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about living that way. Let's talk about boundaries in particular. I love boundaries.
Yes. I can be an observer, not a fixer. I can stay in my own lane. I love that image. I can stay in my own lane and allow you to be in your own lane. So one thing I love to say when I'm teaching, especially healers, lovers, helpers, leaders, are like kind of my specialty. And us kind of people, we like to help, we like to give, we like to, assist and try, but we end up sometimes taking over. We sometimes end up carrying other people's backpacks on top of our own while they're strolling around. And mothers.
Yeah, and mothers. You were saying about backpacks?
Yeah, so the temptation is to carry not just our own backpack, but other people's backpack. Or the temptation is to do homework for third graders. And I know my multiplication tables, but they don't, and it helps to let them do it. And neutrality keeps my fingers out of their pie.
I wish I had had neutrality when I was first married. It may have even been a little before I was first married, because I remember one morning I was working full time. I was putting myself through school. It was a weekend morning, and I went to the kitchen to make breakfast. And every weekend that we were relatively free, we would make these huge breakfasts. We would both eat 2 eggs and pancakes and waffles and saute onions and mushrooms, right? Sweet potato. It was amazing.
Yeah.
So I went to the refrigerator and there were only 2 eggs left. And you know what my brain said? Oh, I don't get any eggs today. There were 2 eggs, right? And I needed neutrality in that moment. And I was so bummed and so sad. And I wasn't deserving. I didn't feel I deserved to have one of the 2 eggs. It was terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of us have that default, especially women or people who are really thrown to help and heal and give.
And that was before kids.
Yeah.
I had that experience without children. And, women do often give up for their kids. And I found myself doing that. If my kid was still hungry and I had the only snack left, I would give the snack to my child and I would choose to go hungry. But I was able to do that then from neutrality.
Yeah.
Before I had kids, I did not have neutrality. But after I having kids, I was able to be more neutral with my kids anyway.
Nice. Yeah.
I'd like to talk a little bit more about staying in my own lane. having boundaries and being in my own lane, especially when we talk about being married and having children.
Mhm.
I want to stay in my own lane, and they want to cut off. They want to be in my lane, right? Or they want me to come over to their lane. Let's talk about maintaining neutrality when we're so close to
Mhm.
others.
And honestly, I think, yeah, a lot people want things, right? But I find my vulnerability comes when I am not clear about my lane, and I'm not clear
Oh,
about staying out of their lane. Like, I'm thrown to help and heal. I'm thrown to sneak my little fingers over there with all the best intentions. And some of us were raised like that, and some of us are thrown like that, and some of us mean really well, and some of us are trained that, like, that's what love means. I
yes.
take your backpack, I take your pain, I take your problems, right? It's just like, that is not what love is. Rah! I know, I just said it on radio.
You can
That's
say
not,
love.
no, but that's not what love is. Love is not taking on other people's backpacks. Love is not taking over their lane. Love is not doing their multiplications so often they don't ever learn them. That's not love.
We're gonna shift a little bit into a deeper subject of neutrality, because I was raised by a mother who was she was brought up in the 50s, and Mrs. Cunningham comes to mind, right? Like this idea that you bake the cake for the kids, and the dinner is always ready, and it's always beef and potatoes, right? And the house is neat. And these ideas, uh, but there was lane crossing constantly. So how do those things go together?
Mhm.
I don't know how they go together. So
Yeah. Yeah,
they're
because love is not taking on other people's stuff.
mm,
And so I've talked in this show before about disambiguating, letting my energy and my learning and my challenges be here, and your energy and your challenges and your um, learning be here, and actually letting that separate instead of
yeah,
being this enmeshed little pile.
I see what you're saying. And when I think about it in terms of my children, right? How do I stay in my lane with my children? When my oldest was learning to roll over, okay, what did I want to do the most? I wanted to help him by pushing him over. I wanted to say, here,
Yes.
this is how you do it. Here, right?
Yes.
Here, you
Yes.
want to roll over? I can help you with that. And that's exactly the example of the little chick that's trying to hatch from the egg. If you
Yes.
break open the shell, then the chick is weaker, right? The
Yes.
chick needs that shell in order to create strength, and it's an experience for the chick, just like rolling over was the experience for my son. So
Mm-hmm.
staying neutral and living a neutral life allows me to love my son, but allow him to have his own lane, his own process, and to develop in the way that's best for him.
Yeah.
That's
And you know
beautiful.
what really helped me with this is when I just keep learning this deeper and deeper, but we learn monkey see, monkey do. We know children learn like that. We know,
Mm.
like, they learn by what they see. They learn by what they experience others doing. And we do too. We just, we like to pretend we don't. So if I want someone to learn to roll over, I need to be rolling over. And they see it, and they see it, they feel it, it's real for them that rolling over can happen, and it's not the best illustration, but then just like they learn to walk, they see us walking, I want to walk.
That is the best illustration, because when I was cooking in the kitchen, what did my toddler want to do? They wanted their bowl and their mixer.
Yes.
And at first, it was okay for the bowl to be empty, right? Here, you have a bowl and you have a mixer. And then there was a moment when they wanted something in the bowl. And I was
Yeah.
like, that's going to create a huge mess. what do I do? Right? So you put in dry rice. You put dry rice in the bowl and it's easy to sweep up. You put other things. And then there's a point at which, no, they want your bowl and they want, the batter in your bowl and the spoon's going to go everywhere. And you
Yep.
have to be okay with that. You just have
Yes.
to go with it.
Yes. Yes. And then they grow up naturally learning all the things they need to know and all the things it helps them to be a functioning adult. It's
Mm.
really, really very helpful. And it's so tempting to be like, oh, get out of the kitchen. Right. But actually, it takes a little more for us, but to actually do it with them. I remember the first time I made like cake or something. And you know how you're supposed to hold the mixer up and down? Of course, I went like this. And of course, it went flying all over the kitchen. Right.
Yeah.
Like it has to. Like I learned by doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Right. And then I had to clean it up. And that's okay.
Yeah. It takes me back to thinking about really how do we help children? How do we help each other? And that's a beautiful example that we live it first.
Yes.
That we try it on. If you're struggling with being neutral in your life, you try it. You just decide, maybe I'll be neutral about this thing that's going to happen today. Every morning I wake up and I look at my day and I decide, how am I going to show up? If I have a meeting, I say, how do I want to show up for the meeting? I want to show up creative. I want to show up supportive. I want to show up neutral.
Mm-hmm.
And opening the door to being neutral is the way in which you begin to learn to live in neutral.
Yes.
So stop fixing everything, right? Just observe.
Right.
How do I stay in my lane? How do I own my own space?
Yes. How to own my own space. And it reminds me of in my training, we were told that by the time we're 2 years old, we know what we need to know to own our space, to own our life, to own our own bodies. And it's no, mine, bye-bye. Hello, bye-bye. And these are the basic, like, if we really are able to do this, like we have boundaries and we can own what's important to us. And it doesn't mean we can't share. It actually means we can share powerfully. If I can say mine, then I can say, here's a flower, here's a cookie.
Yeah.
Right. But if I don't own it, then like just everything's falling all over the place and it doesn't work.
So let's review that again. You said knowing what's mine, being able to say no, like, do you want this broccoli? And I say, no, I don't want the broccoli. And what's the third one? Saying goodbye.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Because it's like, can I let in what I want? Can I say hello to a new friend? Can I say hello to a new conversation? And then the opposite is bye-bye. I've had enough. Bye-bye. Going home. Bye-bye. On my way to the park. Right? Like, can I just let things come and go and just bye-bye? Oh, you're leaving? Okay, bye-bye. Not you're leaving. Right? Like it's boundaries. And the same with no. Like my favorite thing to say about no is it makes room for a bigger yes. It's not all about no. It's no to what I don't want as much as I want something more. So it's just this incredible opening by saying no. But that's part of owning. And if I'm in neutral, I can do that. And if I'm not, it's really hard.
It sounds to me like being a 2-year-old is the moment that we learn and discover the world that is dualistic. So there's yes and no. There's hello and goodbye. There's mine and there's yours. Right? And children know there's girls and there's boys and there's chocolate and vanilla, right? And they're learning colors, right? Red is not blue. It's all duality.
Yeah.
So living in a world of duality, how do I get to neutrality from duality? I believe you told me it's being with what is.
Well, certainly, neutrality is being with what is. Duality, I just was thinking where to start, because duality is the whole game we're in. I mean, everything in our human experience is in this world of I, thou. And it's not bad. There's nothing bad about it. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful experience to experience. Like I'm often encouraging the two, disambiguation. That's duality.
Yes.
But it's healthy, or my lane and your lane. It's just healthy. It's how we operate here, and we're working on. It's so funny. We keep going back to Maslow. It's like the fourth time we've talked about Maslow, but like the ultimate is individuation. That's what we're working on, being able to be individuated. And neutrality helps us in this process, because it helps us understand what love is and what isn't. It helps us own ourself and let everybody else own their whatever they're learning or whatever. On and on. Neutrality helps us navigate a world of this and that. So it's not that it's the opposite from my perspective. It's a place to stand where I can just see it all. Oh, I look over here at this path, looks really nice. I look over here at this path, looks kind of rocky. I think I'll take this path. That's neutrality from my perspective.
It brings to mind the empty nest syndrome, and with women in particular, because I've heard that women struggle when their children leave home. They struggle with who they are, what to do with themselves, how to be in the world. And that's always been a little shock to me, because I haven't quite got it. But I think that's what you're talking about, when we're so wrapped up in you said it so well, our fingers being over here, right? Being in someone else's lane, doing for them, holding their anger, holding their hurt, right? Women are really good at wanting everyone to be happy and good, and taking on the things that aren't ours, but are someone else's to carry. And it's fascinating to me that we can lose ourselves, that people actually lose their individuality.
Yes. And, there's a distinction that I call perfect pictures, where we have an ideal of how it should be. And there's so many ideals about motherhood. I mean, there might be, as there are about how our bodies should look, or a bank account should be, or what a career should be. There's all these perfect ideal pictures that we're trying to meet. But actually, going back to monkey see, monkey do, if we want our children or our partners or our future partners or our friends, if we want them to be a certain way, then the best way to get there is for us to be it. If we want peace in our house, it starts here.
Ah, beautiful. This is a great time to take a pause and thank our sponsors.
Let's give a shout out to our sponsor. Thank you, We Are Storically, for making this show possible.
And we're back talking about, if we want peace, it starts here. It starts inside us. So let's talk about that in particular, how peace and neutrality work together. How do you see them balancing out?
So if we're neutral, I'm not attached to a certain outcome. I'm not resisting certain things. What we resist persists. I can just let go. I can let go. So neutrality itself can feel like peace. And then so that's like the resonance. And then the emotion of peace. Do you have a feel? Do you believe in a feeling of like peace in the body?
I do. For me, peace in the body has nothing to do with the symptoms that I'm experiencing, right? My shoulder has an injury. I stubbed my toe the other day. I scraped my finger and the skin came off. My eyes have trouble if I'm not wearing my eyeglasses, right? Peace in my body doesn't have to do with the experiences of my body because I might be hungry or I might be cold. All of these things are body experiences that are normal and natural, and peace happens despite all of those. Peace
So
happens one layer deeper.
as a resonance.
Mm,
So regardless of what's happening with the body, you can be in peace
yes.
in your soul.
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful.
I like that you mentioned outcomes and letting go. When I was a teenager, I was told I was moody, and I was like, what does that even say? Right? What does that mean? What are you saying about me? What is the word moody? And what I realized was that it had to do with outcomes and letting go, and realizing that I cannot control what happens. I am often disappointed, especially as a teenager, right? Things didn't go the way I had anticipated. And that fed into one of my strengths. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Gallup organization's strengths studies, but one of my strengths is strategizer. And when I was a teenager, I was constantly strategizing situations so that I would know what to expect. I would know how to respond so that I could prepare myself. That was important to me. And things didn't often go the way I could anticipate. And not having a lot of experiences, I couldn't see through. And so it was hard to let go, hard to see and understand what to let go of. And it was expectations,
Yeah.
releasing expectations.
Yes.
So becoming neutral then allows my ability to strategize, and I
Yes.
strategize relationships and how people are being. Oh, when my son is learning to ride a bicycle, do I put him on that steep hill right off the bat? No, right? That's strategizing
Yes.
outcomes and ensuring the safety of my child, especially in a new experience. Because, falling on your bike might might injure you enough and shock you enough that you don't get back on for a long time. And that's not what we want. We want you to learn to ride the bike. We want you to learn the freedom that comes from riding a bike. We want you to learn to practice neutrality. We want you to learn the freedom that comes from practicing neutrality. So, how do we do that? We give you a small incline. We give you a taste of what it's like to have neutrality. We talk about how you can choose, how you can own your space, you can stay in your lane, you
Mm-hmm.
can be okay with what is, no matter what it is.
Yes.
I mentioned we're renovating our house, and there are constantly things that are happening that seem like mini tragedies, but we can be okay with them, knowing that it's just a process.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
I
And some of the things that we are challenged with are small. They're tiny, and some are gigantic things outside ourselves. We're talking about next time, actually, in our Hello New Normal. We're taking neutrality on the road to big things that are happening now. But in our lives, big things happen, very, very difficult things happen, and small things happen. And then inside ourselves, in our own bodies, in our own wellness, stuff happens. Injury and illness and like upsets and fatigue, whatever. And what I've found is that neutrality helps me to be with what is. It helps me to be with what is and not resist, and because it persists, or not to run because then it chases me, not to get stuck in isometrics against what I don't want. I'm my own worst enemy, and a lot of people that I know are, right? Like, because I'm just like, I can't have it, I have to have it, and I'm stuck. I can't have the amount of wellness that I've been experiencing, or whatever it is, and then I'm stuck. But if once I get neutral, it's sometimes extraordinary how quickly things can change for me in here when I let go. And then my body is free to change and my life is free to change. That's my experience.
That's so beautiful, because neutrality is a way of allowing things to happen the way they're going to happen, yes, but we're not necessarily assigning a meaning. We're not saying something is good or something is bad. We're just allowing it to be as it is. And when we do that, we raise our perspective, right? We shift, and we're able to see more opportunities. We're able to see more solutions. And seeing more solutions allows us to choose the right path. Neutrality, wow, is just an amazingly beautiful thing. And when we practice living by heart, we are integrating neutrality into every moment and being present to what is. We have just a few minutes left. Is there anything else you'd like to say and encourage people about neutrality?
Yeah, I wanted to say that some people are empaths, identify as being very affected by emotions and other people's emotions, or highly sensitive people that are very affected. And I found for myself, having identified in these ways, that neutrality has been one of my best friends as I've learned to just like be a rock in the stream and let a lot of stuff just go around me, because not because I'm resisting, but because I'm a different density. It just is natural for a lot of the stuff to go around. So as someone who suffered as an empath for decades and decades of my life, emotionally, physically, with neutrality, I've learned, and some other things, just to let it flow by. It's information, but it's not knocking me over all the time. I don't have to take on their stuff, and I don't have to be carried away by it. And then, so neutrality has helped me have, I'm not resisting. Some people say, oh, put up mirrors, put up walls. No, what we resist persists. I don't want to do that. But what I want to do is, I'm in a space in neutrality where I'm just a different frequency. And in that frequency, I don't have to play the songs and the games of whoever's around me. I can play my own game or my own song.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. It reminds me of when the children were younger, and I would be upset about something, like I might step on a toy, or I'd be upset about something, and then I would express that frustration, and the person I was expressing it to, I'll use my husband as an example, because I wouldn't express that to my children. I would express something to my husband that was frustration, and then he would get frustrated. And I would look at him and I'd be like, wait a minute, I'm frustrated. This is the point I'm making is about me, my frustration. Why are you being frustrated? Right? And being neutral is so important, because my frustration was becoming his frustration.
Yes.
And then I felt like it was, adding to my frustration when all I wanted was to be heard.
Yes.
Right. But when you're neutral, it doesn't build, right? You might be frustrated, but you can be neutral about the frustration. And then anything anyone else does, it's okay. You're not attached to it. Your feelings don't get taken or shifted or moved around or disregarded or uh, yes,
Yes.
neutrality is the way to be. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And for our watchers and listeners, if this message spoke to you, if neutrality is something that you're interested in knowing more about, please leave us a comment. And for more information about it, you can find us at livebyhearttoday.com. Like and follow this page and be sure to turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our shows. We're airing every Thursday at 4:44 Pacific time. From our heart to yours, we wish you more neutrality, and we are creating a better tomorrow so that you can live by heart today. Thanks.
And that concludes this portion of
Live by Heart today!
Thank you for watching. View more episodes on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's give a shout out to our sponsors. Thank you, We Are Storically, for making this show possible.